Hi everyone, welcome to Tech News Curator. This is Julian Ho, and today we are once again focusing on the China-U.S. GTW structure in the global technology supply chain, especially in the semiconductor industry. Last week we talked about China's new progress in developing its own chips, and from many reports we saw that China's semiconductor autonomy continues to progress, and that the use of mature process-based chips will be China's priority. However, China's mature process expansion plan has also brought concerns in the technology industry. Many IC design companies are concerned about whether China's semiconductor industry, like the panel and photovoltaic LED industry, will have a more significant change in the GTW pattern, and TSMC's multiple overseas expansion plans continue to be pushed forward, and in addition to the US, Japan is considered to be the most opportune and competitive overseas expansion base. What is the latest progress and rumors? Tesla, the leading electric car manufacturer, has started delivering its much-anticipated Cybertruck, but the price is 40% higher than the original one. What's going on? Tech News Curator is going to highlight the key events of the week for you and organize the industry news that you can't miss in the tech industry. In 2023, the global semiconductor market demand is not very optimistic, and most foundries have revised their budgets or postponed their production expansion plans. However, it is understood that China's foundry industry, this period of time, seems to be in full speed into the new capacity expansion, such as SEMI 2023 previously provided data, semiconductor equipment from mainland China, to order the degree of enthusiasm, and other manufacturers have a huge gap. China's current publicly announced foundry investment plans as many as 32, but research organizations such as SEMI also previously warned that there may be an oversupply of demand. It seems that the chances are indeed climbing. From the IC design-related industry, China's local fabs have recently continued to open new capacity, but also to lower prices, but also not soft, which on the one hand also caused the pressure of Taiwan's fabs. There are two levels of analysis. On the one hand, if the wafer foundry costs down, in fact, for IC design companies is positive news. But on the other hand, if in the long run, China's investment in mature process plans, if it is too aggressive, may allow China's domestic chip makers to have a competitive price advantage, but it will also be back to cause the other IC design industry's operating pressures, the current Taiwan industry, hold a cautious attitude to observe. What is the current situation? In fact, many Taiwan-based IC design companies, taking into account the price competitiveness, must increase the proportion of investment in China's wafer fabs to compete for lower-cost mature process. And furthermore, some of the Chinese system vendors will also want to submit to the local Chinese chip, using the local supply chain production. Such a trend is indeed emerging. However, for the Taiwan industry, there are some concerns, such as technology outflow, etc. Generally speaking, Taiwan's IC design industry, most of them still want to use Taiwan's foundries to produce as much as possible. The industry believes that although China's local semiconductor investment plans announced may not be fully realized, technology, yield, there are still some thresholds, but in the past, mainland China in different areas of the electronics industry, there has been a substantial expansion of production, resulting in fierce competition in price, resulting in the market becoming a Red Sea of precedent on the one hand, but also be able to beat the competition, which is the part of the Taiwan industry is highly concerned about. Taiwan industry believes that the technological threshold is still the key, advanced IC design part. Taiwan is estimated to have a 3 years of leadership, faster iteration of the product line, more than 5 years ahead of the grasp. But in the face of the flag of China's semiconductor industry, localization, China's technology industry chain seems to have emerged more through the release of orders, cultivate local suppliers strategy, which is also true so that some of the Taiwan or the international industry feel the pressure. This has indeed put pressure on some Taiwanese and international companies. Whether or not the mature semiconductor manufacturing process will be a red ocean in the future seems to require a high degree of stop, look and listen. But what is certain is that TSMC's advanced manufacturing process and advanced packaging technology are still the key to international customers and even governments around the world. TSMC, the largest foundry in the world, has been attracting a lot of attention in recent years for its domestic and overseas expansion plans. Recently, it has been rumored that the new US plant will not only increase its investment by a few times, but also the fab in Japan may enter the advanced manufacturing process. Rumors from the supply chain point out that both the US and Japan have not forgotten to strive for advanced packaging plants capable of heterogeneous integration in the post-Moore's Law era. Recently, it has also been said that Japan would like TSMC to set up a third plant, which may be located near Kumamoto Airport, which will have the opportunity to link the entire upstream and downstream of Japan's semiconductor supply chain in a more complete manner. According to DIGITIMES, TSMC has been building factories in recent years, mostly adopting a twin-star fab design plan, including a new factory in Arizona, the United States, a new factory in Dresden, Germany, and a new factory in Kumamoto, Japan, which started with a blueprint of a two-factory expansion plan. Recent market rumors indicate that the US government would like to see a third or fourth plant, which would include advanced packaging plants in addition to more advanced process nodes. Although TSMC's spokesperson does not comment on the truth of rumors, the Kumamoto plant in Japan is viewed favorably by the industry as a relatively competitive part of TSMC's overseas presence. Recently, there have been supply chain rumors that TSMC may agree to build a second plant and is currently discussing the final subsidy amount, which could be as high as 750-900 billion yen, and the process technology will be advanced from 12/16 nm to 7 nm family, etc. There are even rumors that TSMC may agree to build a second plant. What's more, some people are beginning to speculate that Japan may also begin to discuss whether the third plant and the advanced packaging plant should be included in the consideration of evaluating the land in the vicinity of the airport. In fact, let's go back and analyze the reason why TSMC's attitude towards Japan's plant expansion is more positive on the one hand, because of the requirements of large customers such as Apple, Sony, and so on. Secondly, Japan still has a place in the world in terms of semiconductor materials and equipment. Third, the Japanese government subsidy also meets TSMC's needs, and there are automotive chips, sensor chips, long-term orders from major customers, and so on. The operational risk is relatively low. All countries in the world, including Japan, want to continue to catch up with high-end technologies such as AI, quantum computing, and next-generation communications. So securing TSMC's support naturally becomes a priority. Since the supply chain of the electronics industry in Taiwan and Japan has always had close cooperation, many Taiwanese testing and analyzing and equipment companies are relatively positive about going to Japan, and the expectation that Kumamoto may duplicate the clustering effect of the semiconductor industry is naturally not a problem. Well, we will continue to keep an eye on the global changes in the semiconductor industry chain. On the other hand, a technological trend that is getting as much attention as semiconductor advances is the car of the future. In this case, Tesla's electric pickup truck, the Cybertruck, is finally being delivered to customers. The car, which has been in production limbo for almost 2 years, was in fact inspired by the classic sci-fi movie Blade Runner. However, information received so far indicates that the basic Cybertruck will be priced 40–50% higher than the originally expected $40 USD. It is estimated that the initial price of the Cybertruck will be about $61 without tax credits and will likely be less than $49,900 with incentives. The rear-wheel drive version has an estimated battery life of 250 miles, about 402 kilometers, and will be available in 2025. According to Reuters, Musk said the Cybertruck will come in 3 models, priced between $61 and $100, and is expected to be more practical than a truck and faster than a sports car. In fact, the introduction of Cybertruck means that Tesla is going to enter the highly competitive US pickup truck market, which is both exciting and doubtful. Why? According to some analysts, even Musk himself said that the production of Cybertruck is very difficult, and some people in the market think that Cybertruck is unlikely to make Tesla a good profit. Nevertheless, the Cybertruck, which has finally started to be delivered after a lot of calls from all walks of life, has indeed created a new topic of discussion for Tesla, whose sales boom will subside by 2023. There are about 3 points that Cybertruck brings. First, Cybertruck is still effective in publicizing Tesla's transformation and dominating the discourse, and it is the focus of public attention on the new car. Secondly, the cutting-edge technology on board is still being noticed. This part of the story focuses on the software and battery pack, as well as the futuristic look of the car. In the pre-delivery press conference, Mr. Musk described the car as the future finally looks like the future. However, there were some criticisms and some media analysts said that if it was a commercial fleet, it would naturally be sensitive to the price. In addition, the high strength and acceleration of the stainless steel body does not seem to be a necessary specification for commercial users, and the heavy weight of the pickup truck will also result in a loss of range. Thirdly, the transitional task of replacing old and new models. In fact, not many people are optimistic about the sales volume and profitability of Cybertruck itself, even if Musk himself predicted that by 2025, there is a chance to see 250 zero vehicles delivered. In reality, however, the market's initial estimate is that less than 80 zero vehicles will be delivered in 2024, and in 2025 the number will probably not reach 170 zero vehicles. If the level of 170 zero units, it is estimated that it will only account for a single-digit percentage of Tesla's overall deliveries in 2025, and it remains to be seen whether Cybertruck's sales performance can reach Tesla's own expectation of a 20% share. We can also see that Tesla's delivery growth rate in 2024 is expected to be less than 50%, and the price reduction strategy in 2023 has already had an impact on profitability. So launching an experimental car like the Cybertruck will not help much in boosting profitability. What people are looking forward to is probably the next product after the Model Y, such as a more affordable all-electric minivan, or the even more anticipated more cars under 30 and so on. Therefore, Cybertruck seems to be a transitional product, just like the high-priced Model SX before the Model 3 and Model Y. Cybertruck is even like a big Super Bowl advertisement for the American soccer game, so that the world can still see that Tesla is working hard to launch new cars. Undeniably, Tesla has led the world's traditional car makers to transform into EVs, and China has seen the emergence of EV makers such as BYD, which has convinced the public that the concept of future car is not a dream. So the Cybertruck seems to be a milestone in continuing the market's conversation. Thank you for watching this week's Tech News Curator. Tech News Curator will be aired exclusively on the DIGITIMES YouTube channel every Wednesday at 9:00 a.m. EST. So please like, subscribe, and turn on the little bell to be notified of our updates as soon as they happen. See you next week.